Welcome to another episode of Lattes and Leaders. Thank you for joining me on this journey as we are highlighting young professionals across Indianapolis who are killing it in their industries. And I'm so excited for this next episode. This episode is sponsored by MJW Mortgage, and we are so grateful that they are letting us use their studio. My next guest is Tras McMillian, and he is a man of many talents, as you will see during this episode. He is an entrepreneur to his core, and he has started many different businesses around Indianapolis and is killing it in all kinds of different areas. His spirit is infectious. He loves the Lord. He loves God and he loves Jesus, and he's very outspoken about that. We also talk about his story, how he has come from very much tragedy that happened in his early 20s and how he has overcome those things and become a networking guru, this legacy builder, and someone who is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to entrepreneurship. I really enjoyed this conversation. Let's get to the episode. Tras, my brother in Christ. Let's
Amen.
just start out with that right off the bat, right? Man, I'm so happy to have you here. We met, a little over a month ago and just sat down and hit it off immediately. And so as I was thinking about this podcast, I was just like, man, I would love to have this guy on. And so thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, man. You know, yourself, it's a super blessing how God creates a community and a village for you. I think that's the number one thing. And I feel like you came into my life at the perfect time. You're a man of light, man of Christ, a kingdom man. I respect that. Extremely humble. And I'm blessed to be here. And I'm blessed to break bread with you. Yeah.
Heck
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Every podcast we start off with, man, how are you the man that you are today? So let's talk about your background a little bit. Let me know who Tras is.
Absolutely. So Tras McMillian, I'm here, born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, graduate of Pike High School, also Indiana State. So go Sycamores, go Trees. State bird is Larry. I come from a very loving family. I have my 4 siblings, so it's 5 of us, my mom and my dad. There's so many things that make me me. I think the number one thing, just to dive straight into it, is the grounding of my faith. And I could elaborate a lot on that because, you know, I'm just going to dive straight in and just be real raw with you, of course. So like for myself, you know, I've dealt with so many different things throughout life that for most people could be, you know, discouraging, or they could leave you in a cycle, such as, you know, one thing that really hits hard is, you know, the year 2018 with my mother passing away. I was during my, I was 20 years old at Indiana State, going through my second year of college, and she passed away going into that year 2, I believe, that sophomore year of Indiana State. And, you know, you could grow up in church and you could grow up around people of faith. You could grow up, you know, outside of the faith and stuff like that. But, you know, from my personal experience and testimony, I feel like that was the ultimate Tras-defying moment. It's like my teacher, if you would say, because it put me at a place where, you know, my own knowledge, wisdom, information, and others, it didn't compare to God and his word. And so me hitting rock bottom, I couldn't just say, hey, you know, I grew up in church, so I'm going to be okay. You know, I had to go out and seek it for myself, seek his face, seek his kingdom. And I had to actually trust the word of God. And so during a very extremely unorthodox, it's not like you meet people every day and their mom passes away, right? Like, you know, and so that moment right there was like a literal, like I'm a big sports guy, right? So it's like, I look at it like boxing. You could look at, you know, our modern day guys. You got the Tank Davises of the world. You have like the Terrence Crawfords, the Errol Spencers, the people that are, you know, great at what they do. But when they get hit, or when you get dropped, or when they drop somebody, you have to really recover, understand your purpose, get back to the grind, and you still have to prevail. So it's the exact same thing when life gives us these unorthodox knockdowns, right? So, you know, you asked a phenomenal question. And so my faith, God's word, is to understand that he has no plans to hurt nor harm us, but plans for a good ending. And I had to really, really sit on that and rest in God. And I feel like, man, from there, it was just a takeoff. You know, the rest was just good. It was like, you know, getting that momentum. And then it's like, okay, starting to understand some things that were instilled in me at an early age. So my faith, you know, so you know, my mother rested in Christ. And so it's like being able to have that thing where it's like, man, I was able to find Christ for myself without having somebody come in and control or dictate the narrative or force their, you know, spiritual or religious agenda on me. I was able to actually have an experience where I felt the comfort of God, and I felt it's almost like when something depressing happens to you and people say, oh, you'll never be the same. You'll never recover. That's not what God's word says. And so being able to actually, they say like, put all your chips on the table, put all your eggs in one basket. To put all my eggs in one basket and say, I'm going to let God's word build me up. That's literally what happened to me. And so from there, I always, I can't do anything but glorify God through my testimonial. But aside from that, just for those out there who may be listening, who may be dealing with depression, during that extreme moment of, tragedy, man, I had to make a decision of, what would happen. Like if you were to ask anybody, right, naturally, you have kids, a wife, a best friend, a sibling, right? Do you want to live life without them? Most people are going to say no, right? That's like a natural instinct, right? So when you have a certain, a sudden death, you have to make a decision. Is this the life that you want to continue to live till the end of time? And so my words of motivation for that person is truly to take up your cross. And when you do, I'm telling you, I've never imagined my life where I would meet my wife. I've never imagined a life where I would meet some of the best people of God, men of God. When Christ is in control of your life, he has its own, it's almost like a car. It's like a different vehicle. It's like you could will your whole life yourself and bear everything. And that's okay. If you could do that, that's your life, right? But for me, it was too much to bear. And I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to say certain things happened in my life where it was too much to bear. And I had to say, you know what? It's bigger than me. It's out my hands. This happened. And guess what? It happened for the goodness of you. And we're going to figure out how and why. So since then, I will say like my life has been incredible. I've been able to brush shoulders with greatness, meet tons of influential, phenomenal people. The list, you can start off with Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson, Shaquille O'Neal, Indy 500 winners. The list just goes on and on and on. And it's not to say that defies my life, but it just shows like, hey, if you were to not make it through your battle, if you were to give up on yourself, if you were to be down in the dump in that depression, you would never be able to be in a place where you're even able to see and to get experience greater things that you couldn't even imagine for yourself before this happened. So it really comes down to, not giving up. And so I guess I'll just tie a bow on that one right there. So, yeah.
I mean, a perfect way to start the conversation. And it doesn't even have to be an extreme tragedy like losing a parent. I mean,
exactly.
Other than maybe a parent losing a kid, that's like one of the worst things that can happen to you, is like losing a parent and feeling, especially at that age of 20, like that these people are supposed to walk like be a couple like steps ahead of you and like lead you throughout your whole life, how to raise kids, and all of a sudden they're not there and you're like wandering on your own. We could talk about your dad a little bit if you want, but it doesn't have to be as severe as that. But if you just come across just life in general, it will punch you. And you talked about boxing. It made me think of like my favorite quote, that Rocky Balboa quote, with like life will punch you and it'll keep you on your knees if you let it. And it's just like, without Christ, sometimes I don't know some of the things that I would have gone through, how I would have came out on the other side the way that I am now. Like it just, life is too much to bear. And without the hope of something else, I don't know how people do it. Like it's
absolutely,
maybe I'm not man enough either. I don't know.
You know what I mean?
But I'm not willing to do it by myself. Like I love walking with Jesus much more than when I was not. And I came to Christ probably around 21. So around that same time. But talk to me through a little bit. So your attitude and your like joy is just present now. How old are you now?
Appreciate it. 27.
27. Okay. So 7 years. What was that middle period like? Did you go get involved in a church? Like how did you come to like pick yourself back up out of the ashes? If someone's kind of going through this, they're not going maybe a severe tragedy, but they're really like thinking about Jesus. Did you get some mentors around you? Did you have a specific guy who just like really revived some life back into you?
Oh yeah.
What were some steps that you took, and how long did that take?
Yeah, that's a really great question. There was a full process to this. So the first step, honestly, was to identify that, hey, I'm not okay. And that's okay. Because I knew if I was going to continue to live life like, living life like it's golden and everything's okay, when internally or, you have a hole in your heart, or, that thing happened to you, you have to first identify that. Number two is that's when I realized that I actually needed, like, not want, not, just like, I actually need, when you like, you just know you need something, like, let's just say, let's say somebody's back's against the wall and they have children and they need to keep their lights on so that their house can function, or they need to have somewhere for themselves to live. Like, you actually need to have a certain amount to keep life going. It was the same thing with me in terms of that situation and rebuilding. So first thing I did was, knew I needed to get into a church home. And so, shout out to Pastor Mark Evans. This all happened in college. So I immediately went out and found a church home at Prince of Peace Missionary Baptist Church in Terre Haute, Indiana. The pastor is Mark Evans. And I got there through one of my good friends of mine, man of God, Marquise Black. He's out in Arizona now, spreading the good news as a minister. And so he invited me to church. And crazy enough, that's where I met my wife. Fast forwarding to today, but that's a whole different backslide. But yeah, so met my wife there. My whole life changed. So I was able to meet up with Pastor Mark Evans. And then we had so much in common. I just told him straight up. And I try to be as real and authentic as possible and transparent as possible, because, it's my life and my testimony, and these are my truths. So I've always got more when I gave more, if that makes sense. So I just went there. I gave the truth of what's going on, and he was able to relate with the passing of his mother. He's an older guy, still in faith. And so from there, it was like a momentum spark. So I started to, volunteer, get involved, do all I could just to gain understanding and to grieve and be human, And then so from there, out here in Indy, shout out to Pastor Ben Thompson. That's my pastor now at Progressive Life Ministries. And so from there, I feel like at Prince of Peace, it was almost like a catapult up spiritually. And so as me and my wife, we're back home in Indy, because I was, like I said, at Indiana State, in Terre Haute, Indiana. So once I graduated, I moved my life back to Indy slowly but surely. And so, like I said, that includes the wife, et cetera, et cetera. So then I had to find another church home, because I couldn't just make the down and back from Terre Haute, So I was like, let me just see what's out here. So I went on a long, strenuous process of, finding a new church home, because I understood the values and importance of church. Because a lot of people, quote the scripture, it says, where two or three gathered, I'm in the presence. And so we are Christ's body, and I understand the full importance of actually being a part of a church home. And I knew that I needed to, be grounded in the Lord in order to keep things, at bay, per se. And so, yeah, I think that was like the biggest thing that helped me. Was the first step was identifying, the hole in your heart, or the issue of your life, or however we want to decorate it, right? The second part was being able to understand the needs that were there. And then, opening your life up to, what's out there for you. It's a leap of faith, literally. And I never want to be like a guy who seems like he's unrelatable or holier than thou, religious guy, religious. Like, no, it's like, it's a relationship with God. And so, it's a relationship, right? So like in a relationship, if you have a relationship with your mom or your daughter or your wife, it goes ups and downs, right? It's like, it's hills and valleys, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like no relationship is just up and just life is just perfect and we have no flaws. And I feel like, that's one of the things that a lot of things get, a bad image of, is people thinking life is just this perfect, card deal that you were just dealt. So it's like, that's not the case. And so opening my life up to the body of Christ, man, that's literally was the catapult, the upward thing. So it's like, I can't advise anyone on something I don't personally do myself, right? Naturally. So I can't say, oh, well, you just need to get in the gym, get motivated, get a 6-pack, talk to a lot of ladies, do all these things. Like, that's not my story. So I can't lie to you and tell you, oh, if you're going through something, you don't need God. I'd be a liar. So I'm here to tell the truth. And so I'm just, that was the first step. But from there, honestly, the process was kind of smooth because I knew what I needed. It's like, it's like if you're in a position and somebody's giving you water, you were thirsty and hungry. Okay. Now I can see. Then from there, it just started to reinvent myself. That's what it is. That's the best word to say it. Cause like, I've never been a person who was not in faith. I've always believed in Jesus Christ. And And so, but at that pivotal point, I had to put your money where your mouth is, like actually put my faith on the line and say, okay, like I was like, you could call it lukewarm, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, live life however you want to live. But after that, it was like, okay, like you got to really make this decision because, not having, a parent is not normal. That's not just like an everyday dollar, it's like, okay, you have to really navigate the rest of your life without a mother's touch, guidance, voice, reassurance. Like, it's like, man, we're talking about a serious, pivotal point that a lot of people, have faced or gone through. So it's like, it's through the grace of God that I'm here thriving. And I feel a lot better now than I did then. And that's the crazy part. I feel a so much better version of myself. I have a lot more mental clarity, my vision, natural confidence, and the humbleness as well, comes from above. So it's like that really keeps me in check. That's the best way to describe it. And so I feel a lot better. Sounds crazy to some people that would maybe listening to this, like, hey, does this guy just say that he feels better since his mom passed away than she was alive? And I'm here to confirm, yes, that is true. But it's through my faith and relationship with Jesus Christ, because his word refilled me in ways that I didn't think were possible. It's like being fully dehydrated. You would think like, okay, if I'm super dehydrated, when you get to that point, you'll probably think, I don't think I'll ever be the same. But once you get that water, you get that word of life, and it fulfills you, you're like, man, I low-key feel a lot better, stronger, more wise than I've ever in my life. And that's to God's glory, man. I could go on all day about my faith, because I'm actually really passionate about this, because it's like, this is like a real life thing that it's a natural passion. It's like a fire, right? And so it's like, yeah, it's a fire for Christ, man. So,
and those who have Christ will be jumping for joy, because like I feel it too. That's why I didn't stop you, just because like I feel all the same things. And I think there's a lot of people that might think that God shouldn't let you go through suffering of some sort, or that you shouldn't go through hardship and things like that. But the things that God can teach you, because if you think that you could do it all by yourself, even if you have a relationship with God, sometimes we try to take over the wheel, and then all of a sudden he slowly brings you back to life of like, no, like me is better. Like you don't need to take over the wheel. And something I want to talk to you about is having that big of a tragedy, and like, I guess like seeing that life is like, it could go.
Yeah.
What did that do for like your perception of life? Like, because we're about to talk about the business stuff and the kind of going 100 miles per hour type of thing. But I'm guessing it sparked something in you of like, life isn't forever. Like it'll go, and it could happen at any time.
Absolutely.
Did that make you, and your mother's with Christ, and so that's peaceful.
It's relief. Yeah.
And you're going to heaven. That's peaceful.
Yeah, it's relief.
So we get to play with house money here now.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did that do for you?
It's like life is a rental experience, and it's due every day. No matter what you have, you can't take it with you when you're gone. So yeah, it definitely taught me, like you said, man, life is a gift, man, and everybody's on borrowed time. And the crazy part is, no matter what you try to do, God knows when you're going to come home. It's like, that is crazy. It's like, that's crazy. That's like, I mean, even if you like somebody like who works a job, right? It's like, you could get fired any day, like any random day, anything could happen. Like people don't just anticipate the blow. It's just about when that blow hits, who are you? What are you going to do? And that's the real thing. So what it did for me is, the best way to describe it is it just put me in check. It let me know that, hey, dude, you don't have control over life. Like if you felt like maybe there were some things that you wish you could have done, or should have, would have, or could have done, the game's over. It's like game 7. It's like, that's it. Like, that's it. It's like when they throw in the towel. It's like when you get pinned in wrestling. It's like, dude, it's over. Like, the game is over. But guess what? There's always next season. So it's like, next season, you know what I mean? It's like you might have, maybe you lost your quarterback, maybe you lost your running back, maybe you lost the world championship. And it hurts at that time, right? It feels like the whole world is bearing down and everything is bad. But the thing is, there's next season, bro. And you're going to continue to get next seasons until the one who's really in control says, no more seasons. Now your career is over. Life means, career in this aspect, just bear with me. But yeah, so it just literally, the biggest lesson it taught me is that, this is a rented experience. So it's very important to be real. You know what I mean? And understand that, man, you have to, everything is everything. Yeah.
We're 7 years later now. We are an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Own a salon, a real estate agent, an amazing real estate agent, an author, own a media company, networking guru. I mean, Fox contributor.
Yeah, absolutely appreciate that.
And I'm just like listing off these things, man. And just to see that in 7 years to go from that to who you are now, I think should inspire anyone. So take us through kind of how those building blocks, all the things I just listed off, take us through some of the building blocks of where did you start? So what did you graduate with college with, and what was kind of your first endeavor? And then when did you start to pursue more and more of like stacking skills, doing different things, seeing like, hey, like I can be amazing at some really cool stuff, and I don't have to be into one different box. I could be an entrepreneur. I can take the chance. I could take the risk. I was down and out when I was 20. Back was against the wall. I didn't know who I was, and now I'm swinging for the fences. Talk me through that,
man.
And I'll slowly pull out. I'll slowly pull out each of them.
First off, I went to school, and got double majored in communications, with media studies and journalism from Indiana State. So basically what happened was, this is the real truth for me. Right before my mom passed away, I was pretty close with my mom. So she would text me stuff all the time, keep me, on edge, motivated, things like that, words of encouragement. She told me, she was like, hey, because I was at school and I really wasn't doing that good my freshman year. I was just lollygagging around, not locked in. I was just not locked in. And so I was reading some of our texts and stuff like that. When she passed, she was like, hey, I think communications is great for you. I feel like, you're called to be a communicator. And she literally told me that. And when she passed away, that hit me right in my heart. And I was just like, man, I need to get so serious. Like, I need to literally get so serious. Like, that's really what it comes down to, like a level of serious. And I was like, you know what? This is my lifeline now. Like, the words, the life and death are in the power of the tongue. And like, that was like a whole lot of life at once. It was like, okay, like this is the life. And there's a vision that, she saw me doing something. And I was like, man, let's go unpack that right now today. When I get back to school, I'm going to make sure I graduate. And she told me also, she was like, are you at Indiana State? You better graduate. Like, you better make it out. And I was like, oh yeah, I would always be like, yeah, mom, I'm doing great. Things are going good. But then I was like, okay, bet. Yeah, I'm definitely making it out. So when I got back to school, that's when I I think I had a minor in business admin, but I switched it up to communications because I just felt like, you know what? Mama said knock you out. So I was like, you know what? I went to my advisor. I was like, hey, I'm just going to go a whole different route. I just want to double down on communications. And then I promised, man, I started to have a vision for it and a natural gift. I was like, man, I've never been a shy guy, never been a play it scared type of guy. I've always felt like I had a natural thing in me that's like, present here, not shy, I just needed the right making and molding to help. You could say like, I guess, tame the beast per se. But so I go to I go to school, and I double major and I started doing stuff. Like I started working. Indiana State got a contract with ESPN3. Man, I got hired there. Shout out to Seth Payne. He was a very good guy. I talked to him about my testimony about some stuff I was going through. So he made my employee experience phenomenal. So shout out to him. He's out here doing great things. So that was like a really good start. Started doing camera work with them and just doing reporting and stuff with them, which was really good. And then my whole world just opened up from there. Like it was literally like a little seed that planted that I was like, let me just wiggle this in there and then, water it. And then everything opened up. Then I got with Sycamore Video. So shout out to Sycamore Video. Jeffrey Perkins, my guy. He really changed my life. He's the first person to ever give me a true, authentic media experience and put me in front of the camera. And our relationship took off really fast. Like I just let him know why I was here. I would see myself doing, being a talk show host, doing all these things. And he was just like, man, I see it in you. I understand what you're doing and I'm here to help and let's get this going. And so shout out to Jeffrey Perkins, man. Like he holds Indiana State down and it's a great program for anybody who's going through there. They need to lock in with Jeffrey Perkins. But outside of that, he got me very familiar with the real media world. And so from there, I just started going all in. So I was doing my coursework, having my fun still, and then I would literally lock in on my communication field. And I started to become known as that guy on campus, like Trace the sports guy, Trace the media guy, Trace this guy. And I loved it. It was freaking awesome. So, came summertime, when summertime started approaching, I started to think about my life because I was still super serious. I was like, nothing was ever like enough until I got to a certain place that I've seen myself being, which I always strive to be the best at what I do. I don't just do things I do it to be the absolute best at what I do. And so I knew that. I was like, man, so I looked into like, the marketing and stuff like that. I was like, hey, let's look into this world of media, right? And I started to realize, I have to have something that separates me. Everybody's doing the same thing. What's going to separate you? Because everybody, if you probably like, let's say, get 100 people with the same degree, they all have the same degree, maybe from different schools, but what is your actual like real authentic experience, stuff like that. So fast forward, cracked in my mind, I was like, man, I need to be in an actual and like legit company news station. And I reached out to Aaliyah Horges, so shout out to her. She was the reporter / anchor at Wish TV out here in Indianapolis, actually. And I just literally went on Google because I was so locked in. I would get home and just lock back in. I got on my laptop, news stations in Indianapolis, or that will be hiring an intern, right? And I started, and then I was looking online, and I just found the reporters and anchors. I was like, let me just start reaching out to some people that I think would probably respond to me. And then boom, Leah Horges answers the phone. I'm like, oh snap! Oh, she got back with me. She's like, oh yeah, we have interns coming in. I'll put in a good word for you. And then I applied. She was like, you should just apply, send an email. And I was like, oh snap, this is like, I could actually do something with my life. And fast forward, shout out to Ross Bolin, Anthony Calhoun, Wish TV, shout out to him as well. They hired me. And I was an intern all summer. And, going into this, I never had I'm not going to lie and say I had this perfect vision of just me being this big guy, David Letterman, all these things. No, like I just was at a place where it was like, let's see what God could give me out of life with my natural gifts and abilities. So I wanted to focus on that. And so fast forward, I don't mean to overtalk it or like, put you around the mulberry bush, man. Like
I gave you a big question. Yeah. I want you to answer it.
Yeah. Sorry, but I'm going to try to expedite it a little bit. Basically, got an intern at Wish. It popped my brain. Like that was the first time I had like a full real media experience. And it was like the greatest experience of my life at that time. Like for real. Like I got to meet up with so many people that I've never even, would imagine I would be meeting up with. That's when I met, Elio Castroneves when he won the Indy 500. They gave me so much exposure, and they were so real, and they were so polite and respectful, and so like encouraging the whole journey, where I literally was like, I know I could do this. Like they helped me out. And so when I got back to school, I went to their local news station, WTHI. Shout out to Susan Deacle, a lot of shout outs going on. But I got hired over there, started off there. And then the rest was just history, essentially. With that, to answer your question about like, the process of
sequencing.
Yeah. And then, so fast forwarding, how do I get into like all the entrepreneurial doors and endeavors? I'm gonna answer that now. Sorry to long walk everybody, but I just had to give the full context. Basically,
can I ask you something about communications?
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
So you've been out of communications probably like that story for a while.
Yeah.
And you stepped into entrepreneurship and all these other ventures. How important do you think that communication piece, learning how to articulate, learning how to be on camera, which is like so important right now, but like learning how to take a thought, how to explain it, how has that taken you? Because I mean, most leaders in the world would say communication is probably the best skill that you could possibly learn for any venture. What would you say?
I would 100% agree with that. And I put all my marbles on that. Communication is everything. You think about it, it all goes back to me. Everything references back to the good word. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. You can't, if you don't have a tongue, it's going to be hard to communicate unless, you do like ASL or something. Like there's always ways to communicate, but see what the difference is. The thing is the common mediator is communicate. If you can't speak, you're going to find a way to communicate. If you can't see, there's Braille, you learn how to communicate. Communication is literally life. So I feel like, that's like the number one thing that's like, okay, the most important skill you could have is how well you communicate. How well are you able to literally articulate yourself? How well are you able to comprehend, understand, translate, and thrive at the same time? So it's extremely important. So the reason why I had to give that long backstory is because all those experiences literally got me to where I am right now today. So like without those experiences, because it added to what it was already naturally inside of me. You know what I mean? So being in this place where communication, it was like, yo, shout out to mom. Thanks, mom, because you told me, you told me communications is your calling. So once you lock in, you'll be able to really, the doors will open for you. And so to answer your question, it's everything, man. And so fast fast forwarding to like, being an entrepreneur, I continued to stay in that mode. So I never like felt like, oh, I made it, or I'm done, or like, so I've always was like, okay, God, like, what else do I need to be doing? And I'm going to continue, like I said, to be all raw and authentic as possible. So I ended up becoming an entrepreneur because, one, shout out to my wife. She's a phenomenal entrepreneur. Classy Key, K-tips, and tape-ins. Phenomenal. But she's an entrepreneur, and I feel like being around somebody, she's always been an entrepreneur. Like, even when we were in school, she was the makeup girl on campus. You know what I mean? So like, she's always had natural gifts where she was like, okay, I'm an actual, like, I have my own waves going on. So I feel like, she always is there to like support and there to like help me with any big idea. But it really, honestly, man, I really want to give a nice secret that comes from my pops. And I want to pull out my phone real quick, if you don't mind. I'm not on it. I gotta give you the direct truths, because I'm big on note taking, and like I try to like comprehend stuff really well. So I remember one time I was talking to my dad about life. I was just telling him, hey Dad, I think I want to, start becoming an entrepreneur. But all I've known was communications. I was like, I think I want to start becoming an entrepreneur. But I don't really know, where to start or what to do, who to talk to, because everybody that I'm associated with has their own set, career per se, right? So he literally told me, he was like, hey son, I think what you need to do, you need to open up your word to Ecclesiastes 11:6. And I'm just going to read that real quick. So for whoever's out there, this is literally my secret to success. You know what I'm saying? It says, sow your seed in the morning, and at evening, let your hands not be idle, for you don't know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. And so what that taught me personally, talking to my dad, and I really needed the blessing at that time. And I really meditated on it. So shout out to my dad. It really just taught me some small notes I have. It was just like to not put all your eggs in one place or like one time, but to keep working and plant in multiple areas, because you don't know which investment, relationship, or opportunity will produce fruit. Maybe one, maybe the other, or maybe both. And something my dad says, that it never says that you will not succeed. It says you don't know which will succeed, this one, that one, or both. So I knew that no matter what I decide to do, I would be successful in it, period, because I believe in the word. And so, shout out to my dad for giving me that word when I needed it. But that's when I think everything started to shift. And I'll put my phone up now. Yeah. But that's when everything started to really shift for me, because I was like, oh snap. Like, I can't even describe it to you. Like, things just started to come to my mind. So the first thing I was thinking, I was like, okay, when it said in the morning, withhold not your hand, it's like, okay, you got to like plant your seeds early, And so I started to realize was, okay, what are some things that I could see myself actually doing? I started to look into just random stuff. Got my first 2 vending machines because it just came to my mind. That was my first like entrepreneur thing, along with the same time starting McMillian Multimedia Productions. Shout out to my brother Chris, man. I told him my vision. He got fully on board. He does all my he did all my business cards, websites, marketing. He does like shout out to DG's Decoding Greatness. That's the incorporation. That's his incorporation. But dude, when I gave him the vision, he was so locked in. He was like, this is what we're going to do. And this is how I'm going to help you with your vision. And so simultaneously, I started vending machines, and I started doing, my production company. And I just started immediately reaping fruits. Like it wasn't like business takes time to grow and start at the bottom and work your way up and just go out and go crazy. It wasn't even like that for me. I have a total different story. It was like, it set a fire in me to say, I could continue to do more and more things. And so it all goes back to God's glory, because without his word, I wouldn't do what I'm doing. So it's like, it all goes back to his glory. So everything I'm doing is for the kingdom of God. It benefits it regardless. But basically got the vending machines, found some locations, secured those, started getting passive income. Super easy. Then I started my production because I learned. I was like, listen, this is what I'm good at. And I was just like, okay, why not just do that for yourself instead of a corporation? You don't have to always be tied to a corporation, such as like the Foxes or you don't have to necessarily be a part of that to be successful, because you could do it on your own essentially. And I was like, let me try that. So I went in, invested on myself, went and bought a whole bunch of equipment, went and did a whole bunch of, invested a whole lot. But it was so worth it because I made it back so rapidly fast, So what I did was I started to let people know, hey, if you ever need a photographer or videographer, I have a team of people who would, come out, professionally service you, and we'll get everything to you. So, the seed was planted. And then, my cousin introduced me to Chanel Poole. So shout out to Glam Groom Indy. And I told her one day, I met her, and she was just like, hey, I have some events coming up. I would love to have you, put you under center gun. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. All right, let's do it. So did a couple events for her. She was like blown away. She was like, oh my gosh, like delivery, business, execution, flawless. I love this. I want to keep you in mind. I have some really great things in the works. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm here. And hit me up. Fast forward, and we get announced that, hey, NBA All-Star Weekend is going to be here in Indy. And so I was like, okay. She was like, hey, I got a big gig, Shaq Diesel's going to be there. How about, you want to come shoot for me, do all the work. So videography, photography, it's going to be a party, meet and greet, all that. You could do all that stuff. It's going to be Shaq Diesel, his people. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I call my team. I'm like, yo, we got a legit gig. We need everybody on board. And this was like, a last second rise. And everybody was like, okay, let's do it, Trace. I'm like, we're doing it. And then before you know it, I said, I met up Shaq. I met 3-time Grammy Award winner Raheem Devon. Met so many people through my own independent company. And it's been continued. This has been like a continuous thing. So it's like, man, it's like, and it's not like my business has hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of followers. It's like God has placed me in positions to where I have large scale opportunities, high risk, high engagement. And so at the end of the day, it's a matter of being serious about what you do. And so after delivering, it was a snowball effect. Then I started to go back to praying again. Said, okay, so I have my, full-time job with the media. I have my vending machines, and I have my production crew. I said, but, did God say that's all?
Did he?
Exactly. So
I'm on the edge of my seat here.
All right. No, that's a good thing. It's so evidently, no. So I started to internally dig deeper, like, okay, what more is there that I could do? And so, I started coaching wrestling at Pike High School, teaching and coaching at Pike High School. It was really good. So that was another one. I was like, okay, this could just keep going. I started to get more and more ideas. Then I was like, you know what? Then my wife, like I said, my wife, she's big into beauty. She's a hairstylist, beautician, professional. So, she needed somewhere. So fast forwarding, we end up, downtown Indy, looking at places to set up shop. We found our location. And then from there, it's been another great, help. So she's in a very good, stable position. And then continuing, my sister, shout out to my sister, Victoria, she was doing real estate this whole time as an agent. And she was, doing her grind, doing a good job. And I always was inspired by the way she's always been like smart and, on point and knowing what she's doing. And she kind of exposed me to real estate, period. And like, I was able to watch her, like her raw process of stuff that she was doing. And I was like, man, I would love to do that too, essentially. So like, there goes inspiration. Then I prayed about it. I was like, hey, get into it. So I simply, got into it. And it's been awesome with Blueprint Real Estate Group. It's awesome. So shout out to them. They're extremely helpful, and I could always elaborate more on that. But, gone to real estate game. So now we're I think we're at like number 3, 4, 5, streams income. But there's that, right? So it's like the ball just keeps going. And so it all goes back to that. And then before I knew it, once I got into real estate, got my license, I was like, you know what? The next thing is going to be to impact the youth, because if I have all these things for myself and it's not helping others, what's the point? So this right here is Little Landlords Real Estate 101 for kids. This is a very, very, this is like my baby right here. It's a book that is made for children, because growing up, like I said, I only learned about real estate because I was an adult looking at another adult into real estate. And I felt like, man, I wish I knew a lot of stuff I knew at a way earlier age. I wish it didn't take a blow or a hit or whatever you want to call it. But this book right here is so important because it literally gives your child every single important thing and foundation in real estate that they need in order to be ahead of their peers. So like instead of sitting around waiting for summer and letting them stay in the education system where they're all learning the same old thing, why not give your child a tool that's going to set them apart, where they say, I have the leg up. I know more about this. Teaches kids how to buy, how to sell real estate, what real estate is, why people invest in real estate. It gives them all the great foundational fundamentals that they need. And it's been doing great. It was featured on the news as well. Amazon's top new release. And it's like, honestly, it's the ultimate tool guide for children. And yeah, it gets really good reviews. All the reviews are online. You can find it on Amazon. If you type in Little Landlords on Amazon, you can find it. Or you go to TrasMcMillian.com. That's TrasMcMillian.com. And you can find it on my website for I have a sale going on right now. So you'll be able to get $10 off. So it's a great opportunity for young people. But here I am now today with the likes of a man of God like yourself, phenomenal guy. Sounds crazy, but I wanted to, ask a little bit about yourself as well, man. Because since I've met you, man, you've been phenomenal, man. You're sharp. Thanks, you're always on point. You're very loving, and you're a very stand-up guy, and I respect that a lot from you. And yeah, so
thanks, man.
I don't want to like flip too much, but let the people know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah,
man.
We'll get to that at the end. You can ask me any question you want. I'm happy to tell. But there's a couple things in there. So you've taken on a lot of ventures, and one thing you said in there is that you haven't had that many like setbacks. But if we get underneath the hood, I think there's probably some in there. Would you say that you truly haven't had any like that many setbacks with all your businesses, or it's like the way that you look at it as like not truly a setback, or it's just like a little speed bump and you have found ways to, I guess, be more joyful, be more like positive about setbacks, in that you just like kind of take them on the chin and just like kind of keep going, and that's just a part of business? Or like you truly think you haven't had that much adversity? I try.
That's a great question, man. You're on point, man. You're always on fire and on point. That's really good for you. Honestly, man, I think like with life and its experiences, because life is beautiful, man. It's a gift. It is beautiful. It's a precious experience that you only get one of. And to answer your question, I just count it all joy, because I feel like there's a purpose and reason for everything. So like whether it's a business setback where it's like, okay, you might get no clients for 6 months. You might get no bookings. You might get you're gonna go through seasons, but I count it joy because I understand that there's something that's either on or off that's causing these to happen. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're saying, okay, well, business has been slow, it's like, what are you doing to slow it down? What are you doing to speed it up? You got to stay in it. You got to stay on it. And so it's really what it comes down to. And so it's more so about, you can't be at more than one place at a time. So understanding truly what it comes down to is balance and priorities. Like, okay, like what is top of line priority? What is, not so much top line, the priority. So being able to, analyze and navigate through these random turns and bumps and roadblocks, whatever you want to call it. But, just like when you're driving, right? Let's say like you need to get somewhere at noon or at 1 or 2 or 3 or like at 9 a.m. or 6 a.m., right? And you're on track to be on time, okay? But then, you're like, okay, I get there, I'll be 10 minutes early. Or maybe I'm running late, I got to get there, I'll get there right at 7. It's like, okay, but then as you're driving, road construction ahead, road closed. Life is like that all the time. As long as you're alive, you're still in the game. Like it's still going. So it's like, you can't just look at it and say, man, I'm down bad. The roads that I usually take is closed, so I couldn't make it. It's like, get there, get there, and it's like, there's so many things that just will hold you back from getting there. I don't know what that looks like for anybody else at home or anyone else, but like, just make sure that you get there. There's going to be adversity, trials, tribulations, and temptations, but it is necessary. Because without that, you literally wouldn't be where you're at. You know what I mean? And so that's the best way I can answer it.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. And I think anyone who wants to accomplish, or any entrepreneur, if you just like get into that stage, like in to whatever you're trying to go into with the expectation that marriage is going to be hard, entrepreneurship is going to be hard, being a real estate agent is going to be hard.
Certainly.
And it's like, I'm okay and I know that things are going to come, but I'm just going to keep going. And I think that's a better expectation. I think when people are trying to accomplish something and they like face their first headwind, it's like, whoa, where did this come from? It's like, well, that's always the thing. Like, no matter what you do, that's going to come. And so just go into it with that expectation and you might be able to relax a little bit more. But you said balance in there, and that's the next thing I actually wanted to talk to you about. I mean, your wife's an entrepreneur. You have 7 different things going on right now. You're young, married, like that still has responsibility of you. You don't have any kids yet, so that's good. So you have some time there. But
God will have some. So
yeah. And so what does balance look like for you and your wife? Like if she's driven, you're driven. What does that household look like? Is balance even a thing? Let's start with that. Is balance even an actual thing at this point? Is that just some fluffy thing that people? I feel
like as we keep going, you get better and better. It's really crazy. That's a really great question, and I have a really unorthodox answer. So bear with me, and maybe some may or may not agree with that, but I feel like we all want this like perfect, balanced set answer. But the truth is, the only perfect balance you have is in Christ, right, or in God, right? Like that's the perfect balance. But aside from that, as a human being, there is no quote unquote perfect balance. But I think what we do have is what's called perspective. I feel like perspective is what's always on the line. So I feel like, we all have a vision of like where you're at, where we want to go, where we want to head to. And I feel like that's the biggest thing. So my perspective is that as long as my house is at peace, as long as my priorities are lined up, that's the balance. So the balance lies in the execution and the follow through. And at the end of the day, where are things at? Are things normal? Is there something in your life that's going on that's causing you problems at home? Cut that off. Is it something that's causing you to overdrink? Cut that off. It's like knowing the perspective. Like if you have a perspective like yourself, you're very educated. You know a lot about finances, loan officing. So that's a perspective right there. So if there's something that's steering you away from that, cut that off. That's the balance to me. So literally, that's like the definition of balance to me. The definition of balance is know what to cut off to keep perspective. So the balance equals perspective, if that makes sense. That's like the best way I could kind of describe it. That's why I said it's going to kind of be like unorthodox. But like, yeah, the balance is in the perspective. So I'm well balanced because things are in perspective and they're there. So as long as things are in perspective, that's the balance, because there's never going to be a perfect picture, perfect moment. You know what I mean?
I've never heard it put that way, but that's like a beautiful way to put it. Because like what one couple situation, marriage, whatever that might be, it might be completely different than the way that you and your wife can function. But both of you guys are very happy because the perspective you have is like, we're going this way. This is the vision we want for our lives. And we're okay with this. And then maybe someone else, like they live a completely different life. And that's their balance. That's their perspective. That's what they're trying to build.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think when you come to balance, it's like time balance. And it's like almost unattainable, like that you're supposed to be like this perfect balanced dad, this perfect balanced Christian, this perfect balanced work person.
Come on now.
But it's like perspective. It's like if all these things are happy and like good, then the time balance is different, but it's the perspective of you have that thing.
Exactly.
I've never heard it put like that, but I'm right there. I know exactly. Thank you for coming on. Seriously, you've just given me so much energy. You've given me. If you want to ask me questions, go ahead. What is a question that you were thinking of earlier?
Man, honestly, I feel like when you came into my life, you came with a very, what's the word I could describe? You came with a pretty good angelic spirit where I was like, you know what, this is a good dude right here. Like, this is a cool guy, and you kept it real. Like you're a real guy. Like he's a real dude. Like. So I was like, he's cool. And I want you to share a little bit about yourself so that, those that are tuning in. So people that say, okay, hey, Trace, I see you're on a podcast or whatever. They say, yeah, who's the guy? Tell them about yourself so they know the bright guy that I've ran across.
Oh, okay. I'll keep it short. Dude, grew up in a really rough situation. To be transparent, both of my parents were addicts growing up. And just all over the place. Mom's still not quite where she's at. Dad is thriving, amazing businessman, amazing mentor, love him to death. We have a great relationship now, and I consider him one of my best friends. But growing up, it was just a hot mess. basically up until about 13, I ended up getting in a ton of trouble, went to juvie, gotten some deep stuff. And basically I looked around one day and I was just like, man, like I can keep going down maybe the direction that I'm heading, and that's where my parents were, or I could choose something a little bit different. From there on, from about 13 to 20, I would say that I externally fixed everything. Internally, I was still a hot mess. So continued to fix everything externally, but then got into partying, got into kind of some of the stuff that I was trying to stay away from, but got into all of it and then hit rock bottom right around maybe the same time that you did. Around 2021, I just started to look around and I'm like, is this really it? Like, is it, I'm in a fraternity on campus. I'm like thriving. I'm involved in all these things and I feel empty. Like I feel like absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
There's a campus pastor that's
real.
It's real. Like it's real.
That's real.
And man, thank God for that. Like, honestly, thank God for that rock bottom. Because like, if you just stay there, if you stay like above, like middle or just like barely hanging on, then you could stay in that place for a long time. But if you actually hit that rock bottom where you're just like, I have to try something else. Like I'm at the bottom of the mountain and like the mountain that I thought was going to get me somewhere is not what I thought at all. And so thank goodness I'm at the bottom of the mountain because I get to start up another mountain. And
Absolutely.
So around 21, this guy is reaching out to me. He's sharing the gospel. I wanted nothing to do with him at first. Eventually I circle back. Dude, I give my life to Christ around probably sophomore year. Didn't even know who Jesus was. Like I barely even paid any attention to religion before this. But I mean, I flipped overnight. Like it was.
That's a total 180. That's a total turnaround. 180.
Yeah. So I tell people I had frat letters on my shirt and a beer in my hand to like, I love Jesus and a Bible, like overnight. And my fraternity brothers had no idea what to do with me. But it didn't go away. It just kept, I got involved in ministries. I started preaching. I started teaching. I led a college ministry for a little bit with a college pastor, and man, just was like on fire for the Lord. And I could not get it again. Like you said, you're in a desert. All of a sudden you get fresh water. You're seeing black and white. You put on colored glasses for the first time.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Literally.
I can't see life any differently.
You.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Amen.
And so, dude, I just sprint. And so I get involved in a lot of different things, but then end up going to seminary to become a pastor, and then decide that being a pastor is not really what I want to do at this point, but then come back to business, but still the love for Christ is like just as on fire as it was that first day that I came to Christ, maybe even more.
Yeah.
And then now married, have a baby. I care about the American dream. So I care about people getting into property. My dad, he was a home construction guy. So he worked on houses my whole life. And I saw that side, but I truly do see like real estate and having a home as one of the Christ and family.
Absolutely.
And to package that all up as a house. And that's why I'm passionate about this. But that is, I mean, kind of the same as you, dude. If you want to know anything about me, know Jesus.
Amen. That's beautiful.
We can go through all the details,
yeah.
But like it's just like that's the answer. Like where any of my integrity comes from, where any of just like the love that I have for people comes from, any of that, it's just Jesus.
Absolutely.
I would be a selfish, narcissistic, ambitious, greedy, terrible, terrible person. Because like, and you probably know, like with that drive, with that internal drive to be ambitious, if it's not tamed by the love of Christ and the hope of Christ.
Let's talk about that, man.
Dude,
that's serious.
Where would you go? Where you would go for the mountaintops.
I wouldn't go.
You just throw off everyone else.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would be insane. So like, this is like a total unserious question. So with that foundation, where does the coffee creep in?
Oh God.
You didn't see that one coming, did you?
I'm not surprised. So my sophomore year, so as I'm becoming a Christian, all Christians do is go to coffee shops and read the Bibles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never cared about coffee, but I started going to coffee shops because that's where everyone was meeting. And I loved that you could literally see a grandma with her granddaughter having a cup of coffee and just enjoying the day. You could see two business guys who are just sharing a cup of coffee, getting to know each other, which is, well, we actually went to lunch, but most of the time in networking stuff, you could do that. And so I started to love the atmosphere of coffee before I actually loved coffee. And then one of my buddies, he started a coffee shop in our local town, in our college town. He's like, let me make you a really good cup of coffee. So he makes me a Chemex for the first time. And I had no idea that coffee actually had flavor, like that it could have notes, it could have chocolate notes, it could have cherry notes. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. I get involved with his dad with Parlor Donuts. And so right now, Parlor Donuts has like 85 to 100 locations across the country. There's one up in Fishers. There's one downtown Indianapolis. But it started in my college town. And I was like employee number 4 or 5.
Okay.
in this thing. So he was a pastor. He loved Jesus. His son loved Jesus. And this was like a ministry for us.
Okay.
And so I was like,
Wow.
a coffee shop is like one of those only places where like anyone from any stretch of life comes in.
You could evangelize.
You can evangelize. It
Yeah.
is like one of the only places like that still exist. You have like
I never thought of it that way ever.
Yeah.
Till just right now. That's actually really unorthodox and unique. I like that.
Yeah. And so it's called the third space. So Howard Schultz would call it the third space. And it's like you have your home, you have work, and then you have a third space. Usually it's your gym, it could be a restaurant, but coffee shops are the most prominent third spaces in the country right now. And it's like a place where people, it's like almost like that old like pub feel where you walk in and you know the bartender and it's like, hey, what's up? And you get like a little community going. Coffee shop can be that if you do it with a ministry focus. And we did that. And so this little tiny, I mean, it was a closet when we first started. And there are lines out the door. And we're playing Christian music. Everyone like is a Christian who works behind the counter. And we are just loving on people. We're starting Bible studies. And I just like fell in love with that vision.
Thing. Yeah.
And so
how do you describe that love for Christ? It's like, isn't it like it's hard to put to words?
It's hard to put to words.
It's hard to put to words. It's like, but once you get it and you experience it, it's like you'll never be the same again for the better.
For the better. And and I hope everyone on the other side of this camera could feel that one day and just like even just go try it out. Like if you have nothing else to lose, if you're in a bad spot, or maybe you're on the top of the world and you still feel depressed. Maybe you're amazing at your career and still feel nothing.
Feel empty. Yeah. Not fulfilled.
Jesus.
That's the answer. That's the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that was fulfilling. Like,
it was good.
Let's get back to you.
Let's get it.
So
thanks, Dillon. Appreciate it.
We go through a couple rapid fire questions at the end, and then we'll have a pretty serious one at the end that another guest has left for you. But a couple light ones. So if you have a free weekend, are you staying in or going on a spontaneous trip?
I'm going to stay in. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to stay in. I'm going to stay in. Yeah, I'm staying in.
Do you prefer a good movie or a good book?
I'll say a good book. A good book. I'll say a good book.
Okay. What's your favorite?
Of course, I could always say like, oh, the book's in the Bible, but I'm going to like, I want to say my favorite book personally is the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. But like that book right there, John Maxwell, shout out to John Maxwell, man. That guy, when I read that book, it literally changed my whole perspective. Like the laws of growth, because I knew I was at a place where I needed that book at the right time, and so once it was, recommended for me to check it out, I was like, okay. Then I just basically got bought in on John Maxwell. So, that's definitely I have a lot of books. Like I have like an actual, like I go through books and audio books and podcasts like it's like candy. And so John Maxwell, I like his content, his perspective.
One quote that has really stuck with you throughout your life.
I'm going to say, I'm going to just keep it. Shout out to my mom. I'm going to say, she told me, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade.
Classic. Are you a foodie, a coffee connoisseur, or an experienced junkie?
Man, man, I love me a good meal. I'm not going to lie. I got to keep that in check. I love me a good meal. I'm a foodie, but also love traveling though too, because every time I travel, I feel like I'm never going to come back. I'm like, this might be my new home, So I love traveling. It's awesome. But I'm going to stick with food because it's just more instantaneous. Foodie for sure.
Okay, let's go with that. What is one underrated spot in Indy that people should know about? Maybe like a special date night place that you and your wife like to go.
I had so much time thinking about this one. It's going to be so crazy. Classic Key Studios.
Classic Key Studios. Okay.
Yeah. So you got to just go on IG, type in Classic Key Studio, give it a follow. Go on TikTok, Classic Key Studio. Bam. Aside from that, I'm a big Indy guy. I love this city. I love this state. This is where I'm born and raised. I mean, you better go to a Colts game, a Pacer game, Fever game, Indy 500. Live the Indy life. So those are my gyms right there.
So the last guest left you a question, and you will leave another one for the next guest, not knowing who it's being left for. But the last one said, what is something that in your entrepreneurship journey or leadership character that you're struggling with and that you're trying to get better actively in this period of time?
It's a great question. The number one thing right now, it's top priority. Like we need to get better at this. I would say, honestly, man, being and staying consistent. Literally. Like I always think when it comes to like business, I'm not like a business hound or like a forceful type of guy. That's never been my type of like forte where it's like I'm a force, go make you do stuff, like never. So I've always let business come to me. Like with like starting my business with like multimedia, of course I planted the seeds like, hey, I could do this for you. But I wasn't like, hey, you need me at your event. If you don't have me, like I was never on that type of time. So it just, then opportunities naturally came to me. And so what I'm working on now is like, aside from that drift, that type of momentum, I could be more consistent and get more consistent results instead of like almost like flashes or flares of greatness. It could be like a consistent thing. Like that's the number one thing that, that's on the top priority improvement list right there as far as being like an entrepreneurial leader.
Man, Trace, thank you so much for coming on. Dude, this is an awesome conversation. Just you're infectious.
Oh, man. My God. Yeah.
You're infectious energy. Obviously, your love for Christ. If anyone knows me, knows it's my favorite topic in the world. So
absolutely,
man, keep getting out there. Use this man for real estate, for media, wife for hair.
Yeah.
He just got his hand in everything. Go give him a follow. See what he's got going on. But dude, I love you. Love you as a brother in Christ.
Love you too, bro.
Thank you for
man.
coming on.
Thank you. God bless everyone. God bless you. Appreciate it. Time of my life. Shout out to Loans and Lattes. Lattes and Loans. Peace.